Hello, everybody. GravyTrain here. Another episode of GravyTraining. This is a landmark episode. Hero Spotlight number 33, Monsters. So I've done a couple of these heroes before, but since I'm doing like 6 monsters anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and do the other two again. I believe I've done Miro and I've done Iris. So I'm going to cover all of them, but this is the last of the hero spotlights. So yes, we have finally made it through. Granted, we lumped a bunch together at the end, but we have finally made it through all of the heroes. Every single one. All like 85 or 88 of them or whatever it is. It's crazy now. So once this video is done, I will probably take like a day off. And I will start getting into mechanic spotlights or PvP spotlights. All that kind of stuff. As well as I won't feel guilty about making content for other games as well. So that should be coming soon. I'm going to go ahead and give like a couple of different episodes of a couple of different games perhaps, and see what people's interest is. And we'll go from there. I mean, I'm not really necessarily looking at drawing a ton of new subscribers or anything, but it would be interesting to see what we can do. We've got a great community, and who knows, maybe we'll find some games that you guys will be able to play along with me, and or alongside me, or against me, or whatever. We'll rotate some people in and out, and see what kind of fun we can have. So, without further ado, for the final time, switching back over from the title screen on a Hero Spotlight Let's Play, or Hero Spotlight tutorial, to the camera. Alright, so, monsters. Monsters are iffy. So they're good if you use them kind of on an individual basis, peppering them into teams. They did get a little bit of love in regards to, I mean, the Iris was added. Igorok had a bit of an overhaul, or he at least became legendary, and he got a little bit of an overhaul. Phenol got an overhaul, which actually kind of worked out well for him. We'll get to that. All in all, though, none of them are super spectacular. But, I mean, they're fairly solid. And with the meta shifting, who knows? We'll see what we can do. So I'm going to start with Igorok. Or, I mean, it looks to me like Igorok, but whatever. Somebody made a big deal once about it, and it just stuck in my head then, so. Anywho, Igorok is a monster tank. He does have an epic. 30% defense, 20% skill, 10% crit chance. He has a 30% chance to deal 2x damage and AoE. Add freezing skin for water allies. And he has his passive, his legendary passive of Epic Shatter Team. I will get into. So, according to the game, which might actually be true again, he has the highest base attack and defense in the game. Now, with the epic, his defense, unruined, I think might actually be true. I don't think his attack is, but his defense is pretty darn high. I have tried him a little bit, but not extensively. He can get into the mid 30s for defense. So, anyhow, his abilities. So he has, as he is the linchpin, or he's the Valken of monsters, or the Jin of monsters, or whatever. He's the one that has all of the synergy. He's the focus of all of the synergy, which is unfortunate. I wish it was Iris, or I don't know, somebody else, but it's not. It's Igarak. So, insulated monsters. Allied monsters gain insulated woolies, which means they're immune to freeze, chill, and frostbite. This is good. So that means that Iris can't be frozen. None of these heroes can be frozen, or chilled, or frostbitten. So that's good. He's armored, takes less damage from physical attacks. He has a monstrous presence. So monsters take reduced damage from debuffed characters. Monsters cannot be retaliated against. So this is similar, except I think they do more damage to debuffed characters. They take less damage from debuffed characters, similar to demons. Unnatural fear, so they are immune to fear, and they have a chance to fear beasts on attack. Monsters and beasts kind of counter each other, except monsters are better than beasts. Epic Shatter Team. Epic Shatter Team. So this boosts all water ally damage versus frozen targets, and life steals for some of the damage dealt. So, yeah. Targets are frozen, they do more damage to them. So, with Igarak, he used to be part of the Shatter Team, meaning you would take Igarak, Selwyn, Gortusk, Grognog, all the heroes that are, or Valken, or Icebloom, I mean, any of those heroes that can freeze, you'd take them all together, they'd all be blue heroes, blah, blah, blah. And they'd get bunches of synergy and lock you down, and you wouldn't be able to act. Not so much anymore, but, I mean, you could still probably do it at mid to upper levels, but not high, not like 80 or 70 plus. Not very effectively, anyways. I mean, it can be done, but not very effectively. So those are his main passives. We already talked about his epic. So his first attack, Polar Pounding. Yes, this is the most powerful of all the innuendo-named powers. So, no, it's a ranged water attack on all enemies for 2206 base damage with a chance to freeze. So it's an AE attack for decent damage with a chance to freeze. So not bad. Frostbite Taunt. Taunts buffs defense by 65% and has a chance to apply Frostbite to the attacker. Starts powered, so you can do this round one without festives, and yeah, if somebody hits them, they can be frostbitten. It doesn't say melee attackers, but usually that's what it is. So, and then finally, Arctic Assault. So it's a melee water attack on target and two random enemies for 1800 damage, 1.5 times 1.5 times damage if the enemy is chilled or frozen, which they usually are by that point. So, not bad. He is going to be much more of a defensive hero than anything, though, so you're not generally going to get a ton of damage from that. Next, Hopper. One of my least favorite heroes. Some people love him. I'm not a fan. He's a fast monster rogue. He has an epic. For a rogue, he's got 30% defense. That should be attack. These two should be switched. Blah, blah, blah. 20% health, blah, blah, blah. 30% chance to gain Shrouded. So Shrouded is like Shade's Shroud ability, which means that he can't be debuffed and takes reduced damage. So he has a 30% chance to gain Shrouded, do 3 bite attacks on a target, and if the target is killed, it fears all enemies. So, I mean, meh, he doesn't do a ton of damage, though, considering he's a rogue. He does bring some utility, and he does bring disease and stuff like that, but... alright, so his passives. He is fast. Already says that. Rabid, so he has a chance to disease melee attackers and a chance to disease on bite attacks. But he diseases a lot. Happy Ending, but removes enemy corpses and heals for each corpse removed. Yeah, he eats corpses. So removing the enemy corpse means they can't be rezzed, although they can be reanimated by Zom. Insatiable, he gains maximum hit points on bite attacks. So every bite attack that he makes, he gains some amount of to his hit point cap. And he gains energy on critical bites, which means his stuff powers up quicker. He can fear beasts and is immune to fear. Abilities. We already talked about his bite, so Just a Taste is his first ability. It's a melee physical bite attack on all enemies for 1700 base damage with a chance to mark the enemy with the most hit points. Marked enemies take 2x bite damage. 2x of very little is still very little. So the only advantage to this is that it hits everybody, so it's going to break shields and things like that. It does have good chance to disease, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. And, I mean, granted, disease is helpful. It's going to reduce their attack, reduce other things, but... not all that great. Eat and Run. So, 2 melee physical bite attacks on an enemy for 2200 base damage. Wounds, and then adds 67% chance to dodge attacks. So Eat and Run effectively means that if he's got any dodge at all going on, he can't be hit by anybody but dwarves or the 2 honor-bound heroes. So, not a lot of damage, but Finally, Soul Devour. Soul Devour! It's a ranged dark attack for 2454 base damage. Life steals 115% of the damage. Steals all buffs, adding them to the caster. So this is the one where he just yanks their soul out of their body, doing damage, life stealing, stealing all the buffs, blah blah blah. So nothing remarkable. He's good against healers that res. Or he's usable against healers that res, because no matter what, if he's able to act, he doesn't need to land a hit or land a killing blow to burn the corpse. He just burns the corpse. Iris. And I think we've done a spotlight on Iris. Actually, since I've got runes here, let me really quick go back here. Let me talk, because somebody was asking about how to rune the heroes. So Igorok, I would probably do either 2 Unbreakable Hearts or an Unbreakable Heart and a Bulwark in the blue slots. For the red, put whatever, because it's going to be an attack rune, unless you happen to have one of the defensive warrior runes. For the yellow slot, I would definitely go a Guardian rune. And for the purple slot, just another Bulwark or a Guild rune or something like that that's going to give lots and lots of defense. You want to pile the defense on him. Yeah, pretty much pile the defense, healing runes that'll do healing at the end of the turn or things like that. You want him to be survivable. Hopper, rune him up. You can put taunt on him. Hopper does have a special configuration of runes. So he's got purple, purple, blue, blue, green, instead of purple, purple, blue, red, green. So he can be even more defensive. You can actually put 2 Unbreakables on him, or you can put, I don't know, blue whatevers on him. I would just rune him heavily for defense. He's not going to do much damage anyways. And, yeah, you can even throw a tank rune on him, either a purple or a green, or, or a blue, but... Iris. So, Iris is a caster monster. my runes, I rune her heavily offensive. So I've got an elite battle rune. I have an elite festive. I do get some defense on her. Elite hero for attack. Another elite festive. Really, I think the only reason I have a festive on her is or an elite, is it's the only festive that I had. I've gone through lots and lots of festives, although I might have, I've got superiors, but their defense. Superior, I might swap that out, but it's not important right at the moment. Attack, and defense. If I have a couple of those. I actually have 4 of the attack, defense, unbreakable heart runes. I would probably, if I wasn't using them on a bunch of other people, I would have one on her, but Survivor is good because it provides a buff, which I will talk about in a bit. So yeah, I've got 2 defensive runes, 3 offensive runes. Her stats are still pretty good, like decent. They're not top level, but they're decent. 1200 attack, 8000 defense, skill, health, whatever. She gets beefier as the fight goes on anyways. So, mystical, boosted damage versus tanks and slow targets. Flying takes less damage from melee attacks. Watch and learn. So, she applies an observation debuff to enemies hit. Observation copies any buffs applied to that enemy and applies them to Iris as well, and Iris is immune to observation. What does this mean? So, other than in the few cases where, like a construct, where they just cannot be debuffed, she will apply, and they really ought to just make this ignore debuffs, to be honest. That one is another case. I may actually recommend that. But she applies an observation debuff on the target for every buff they gain. Not every buff they have. Every buff they gain. Copies any buffs applied to that enemy and then applies them to Iris as well. So you want to hit the enemies early. Fortunately, she has an AoE attack early on. And then it puts a debuff on them, copies the buff to her. And it gives well, we'll get to that next, I believe. No, we'll get to that further back. So, okay. Windows to the soul. All attacks, that's basic and specials, have shield piercing and will heal 50% of the damage dealt. Percent healing increased with skill. So, I mean, I don't know how much she can quite get to, but it can be pretty darn high. She's a monster, so she's immune to fear and can fear beasts. This one is pretty cool. So, gains a stack of intellect for each new buff applied to this hero, plus 5% skill per stack. So each stack she gets more skill as well, which means she's going to be healing more and all that other stuff. Can't be copied or stolen. When at 5 stacks, intellect is removed, and monster and caster allies gain Hive Mind, which is a buff that's 25% damage penetration, 25% damage reduction, and 25% skill. 25% skill is going to translate to lots of crit. It's going to translate into lots of healing, things like that. So yeah, she can start doing big damage. Alright. No epic. So her basic attack, the ranged spirit attack. Remember that it's spirit. Her basic attack does nothing against Solaris. Nothing at all. So doing 1400 base damage. Eyes of the Beholder. So she buffs allies' attack by 57%. Not the greatest, but it's 57%. and then does a ranged dark attack on all enemies for 2,000 base damage. Shield piercing against all enemies, applies the observation buff, copies all future buffs added, yada yada yada. Works pretty darn well. So she starts to get pretty beefcake the more buffs she has. One, because she's getting buffed, and two, because she is going to get intellect. Next, destructive deconstruction. That is the most original name ever. So when I first started the game, I've been playing a little over a month, maybe a month. Then Iris came out. Yeah, it was the first new hero that I got while I was playing. Because I wasn't nowhere near the first person to get her to 6 stars, but I was among the first, like, major wave. And I just loved her. Used her so much in PvP, and actually took 3rd place in PvP that week, so kind of really pioneered some attacks and stuff with her at the time. But still a great hero. Destructive Deconstruction is a ranged dark attack, so this one will work on, like, Emily, and well, all of her attacks will work on Emily, but it'll work on Solaris, etc. Ranged dark attack on target for 1692 base damage, dealing bonus damage for each buff on this hero and each buff on the target. So, effectively, you could obliterate, like, say, Malice or something like that. She does a lot of damage with this. Big damage. Finally, a really, really unique attack is Annihilation Beam. So, this does not work against the boss invasion bosses. But it does work against PvE bosses. And it works against heroes in PvP. So what this does is it purges all buffs and debuffs on target enemy. Sets the enemy's health to 10% of their current health. What does this mean? And this is complicated. More complicated than it seems. So first, purges all buffs and debuffs. Alright, cool. Then sets the enemy's health to 10% of their current health. This attack deals 0 damage. No damage at all. Sets the enemy's health. The enemy was at 10,000 health. They're at 1,000 health when they're done. They didn't take damage. Their health is just set to 10% of their current health. Which means Furnace, who can only take 20% of his health and damage at a given time, this goes right past that. Right past it. So she can take, doesn't matter how many hit points they have, 10% of your health is all that's left, and it's your current health. Meaning if you're at 50% health, so your max health is 10,000, you're at 5,000 health, your health's now at 500. And this attack doesn't miss, ever. It's just target somebody, and they're down to 10% of their health. Literally, well, no, this isn't a decimate, it's like the anti-decimation, right? This is, it's a really good attack. You can actually also use it against, like, Shade. If Shade has somebody life-linked, is you're purging their buffs, it's pretty darn good. You can, like, remove possession or things like that. It's a nice ability. It definitely requires, it's like a 5 power, 6 power, 5 turn. So you need 4 festives to use it on turn 1. But such is life. That's what I was originally trying to do, was get 4 festives on her. I can get that second one. First turn I can do this. Annihilation Beam, it's going to take me 3 turns to be able to use with the runes that I have. So that is Iris. Iris, you want to use, she can be a pretty heavy damage dealer. She pierces shields and all that other stuff. So when Iris came out, was like beginning of the death of barbarians. And, oh yeah, that was the heyday. Barbarians were everywhere. Everybody was like afraid of barbarians. Iris came out, and oh yeah, it was like fish in a barrel. So yeah, Iris is a good hero. You can actually use her defensively as well. Yeah, I mean, she's all around a good, solid hero. Next, Kouros. Kouros is a monster warrior. Kouros is an interesting hero. Kouros can do a lot of damage. A lot of area effect damage, too. So, first thing you'll notice, the rune slots. He is pretty much geared towards being full attack. You cannot rune him for much else. So I mean, you could run, because all your red runes are probably going to be attack, unless you want to waste defensive warrior runes on him or something. And then you've got green runes, which could be attack or could be defense. That's up to you. He's a glass cannon. Which, if you don't know what that means, it means he can do a lot of damage, but he can't take a lot of damage. So, if it's magical, he eats it. If he's not sure, he eats it. I'm pretty sure he eats everything at this point. So his base stats are actually somewhat decent. He does not have an epic. So for not having an epic and being a gold hero, he's actually got decent stats. Yeah. So, Aura Eater. Attacks by this character deal extra damage to magical heroes. Self-explanatory. Devourer, so purged and consumed effects heal this hero. So anytime you would purge buffs or something like that, it actually heals him. Practice Hunter is a chance to revenge against non-physical attacks. That's anything that's not a physical attack, obviously. Takes less damage from non-physical attacks. He is an eater of maladies, so he consumes burned and poisoned from an enemy hero on basic attack to deal extra damage. That's only on basic attack. So it's kind of meh, but... And he's got Unnatural Fear, which all the monsters have. Abilities. Basic melee physical attack, doing leet base damage. Nice. 1 through 3, 7. Purges 1 buff on a crit. So, kind of cool. It's leet. Purging Pyre. So this is the big one that he's kind of known for. It's a ranged fire attack on all enemies for 2432 damage, which is usually more. Purging up to 3 buffs with a chance to burn. So 3 buffs means probably all your buffs and a chance to burn. Consuming burns reduces the cooldown of this ability. So if you've got burns from another source, he'll consume that and do more damage. Siphoning Rampage. Melee physical bite attack on target plus 2 enemies. They're random. For 2161 damage, life steals 150% of the damage dealt for each magical hero hit. Only magical. And finally, Stinging Strike. This one actually hits pretty hard. It's a melee physical attack for 4,200 damage with a chance to poison, ignores armor, consuming poisons reduces cooldown of this ability. So it's got a cooldown of 5 turns. If you can get poison out on heroes, you can get this thing firing pretty regularly. That is Kouros. He is... Do you want to ruin him up just for attack and hope he lives? Phenol. So, Phenol is a slow monster tank. He is like an ochre jelly or whatever from old school D&D. Yeah, not a terrible tank. Kind of an odd character. So he has toxic form. So he's immune to poison and venom. So you can use him against Gorgons without fear. 100% base chance to poison on basic attacks and poison melee attackers. Removes the corpses of enemy heroes killed by this hero. So he devours corpses. He's slow, which means he does more attack and has more hit points. And he will do a revenge attack when he's hit. Monstrous Growth. This hero's max health increases 10% for each monster ally in the team. Woohoo! Who cares? Health is useless. He's got the monster ability, Unnatural Fear. And he has Gelatinous Mass. When this hero hits or is hit with a physical attack, he gains a stack of Gelatinous Mass. Increases max health and defense by 10% per stack. Stacks up to 5 times. Resets each encounter and can't be copied or stolen, which means he can get up to 50% more health, 50% more defense by taking hits or hitting other people. Abilities. He has no epic. So, Slam. We already know that if he hits, he can actually target a corpse with his basic attack. So he can do a basic melee physical attack for 1,100 base damage. If targeting a corpse, the corpse is removed. But he can just eat a corpse too. Slime Shot. Sounds like you're sneezing on somebody. Kind of what it looks like to you. Ranged nature attack on all enemies for 1,500 base damage with a chance to poison. Provokes the initial target. Whichever target you're targeting, he gets provoked. The rest of them do not. So it's only the initial hero. And yeah. So, next, Jiggle, which is his taunt. Jiggle it just a little bit. Oh, 80s dance music. Or, yeah, 80s, late 80s, early 90s, whatever. I'm old. Jiggle cleanses all debuffs on self. Taunts. Heals 3582 health and regenerates another 3582 health, split over 3 turns. So basically 1175 health, 1195 health, split over 3 turns. Starts powered. Absorbing Smash. Melee physical attack for 1720 base damage that steals buffs from the target equal to the number of gelatinous mass stacks this hero has. Cannot be dodged. So, as far as tanks go, not bad. Like, he can kind of hold his own. Pile defense on him. You're not going to be doing damage with him. Pile on the defense. Guardian, Unbreakable Heart, defense, defense, defense. Bemis. I believe we actually covered Bemis before, so we covered him recently too. I'm not going to go into him. He's also an ogre, so we covered him with the ogres a couple of weeks ago. Same stuff applies. Make him defensive. Manglejaw. It's a monster warrior. He is typical monster warrior. He's a silver hero. Not great. Stats, not great. He's agile. Woohoo. Quick feet to give a 25% chance to dodge ranged attacks. He has Flesh Shredder, boosted damage versus non-armored targets. Drill Master has a chance to burn on any crit. Fire Eater, life steals when dealing damage to a burning enemy. And the unnatural fear that monsters get. He has no epic. So his bite just does lead damage. That's funny that it's so many of these heroes are elite. Apparently somebody likes monsters. Alright, special one is Hot Coals. Ranged fire attack on all enemies. 16, 89 base damage with a chance to burn and slow non-flying enemies. So, yeah, there's only about a dozen flying enemies. So anybody that's not flying is going to have a chance to be burnt. Lockjaw. This is the same as the Torchy ability. Silencing bite attack on an enemy for 22-29 base damage starts powered. And finally, Terror Tooth. It's a melee physical bite on a target and one random enemy for 1200 base damage with a chance to fear. He is not going to get used very often. Not often at all. Maybe if you need to build a team against a boss or something like that, PvE. PvP, almost never. Miro. Miro, on the other hand, is surprisingly good and surprisingly useful. Caster Monster. Right. Her stats are decent. You want to ruin her, probably either like a mix of defense and offense with an Unbreakable Heart, or if you can pile on offense on her, she can actually do pretty good damage. So her passives: Electric Feel. She has a chance to shock melee attackers and a chance to shock on attack. So you partner her up with Jin and start watching great things happen. Slippery When Wet starts the dungeon with Taunt on the highest health ally. Takes reduced damage from area effect. So she takes reduced damage from area of effect. The highest health ally has Taunt for free. Mystical. Boosted enemies versus tanks and slow targets. Monster Scout. Increases skill by 25% for all monster allies. Great when you're pairing up with, say, Iris. Unnatural Fear. Negatively charged. Any character doing damage to this hero will lose energy. And allies cannot be slowed. Meaning that, like Grognog's ability that slows heroes, stuff like that, and they cannot be slowed. She does not have an epic, although that would be awesome if she did. Her bite attack is just a basic melee physical attack. Lure. So Lure is a melee lightning attack on target enemy for 2300 damage. Consumes all buffs on the enemy target and paralyzes for 3 turns. So paralyze means that there's a chance each round that they will lose their action. If any buffs are purged, heals 6,000, 6,100 health, and gains energy for each buff purged. And this ability cannot be dodged. So that is pretty nice. Really nice, as a matter of fact. And it's a lightning attack, so it'll trigger Jin. This ability, Light Nova, is amazing with Jin. So you've got a ranged lightning attack on all enemies for 2100 base damage. Obviously that goes up with runes. Gives allies a chance to shock on all attacks for 3 turns. So the lightning attack will shock, it'll trigger follow-ups from Jin, and then it'll allow your entire team on every attack to have a chance to shock and trigger follow-up attacks from Jin. It gets gross. Gross, gross, gross. And an awesome ability, Invigorate. Fully energize an ally and add to their crit plus 66% for 3 turns. They can have 0 energy, all their abilities dark. They go to 100% energy, all their abilities activated. Those 8-turn abilities, all that, come right up. Now this one has 5 turns, but she's going to be gaining energy from purging. She's going to be gaining energy from Jin. This comes up pretty quick, like second round. You're going to end up seeing this if you're doing things right and partied up with Jin. So Miro, and she can do a good bit of damage. She's not going to be quite doing like Jin level damage or new Pontifex Mortis level damage or whatever, but she's going to do good, solid damage. She is very squishy, so take a tank, taunt, keep the enemies off of her. And that's it. That is monsters. That is all the heroes. So, for those of you that have been on this journey since the very beginning, thank you. For those of you that have joined along the way, thank you. We will, like I said, I'll revisit heroes as they get adjusted or if there's significant changes. But, yeah. Feels amazing to have this list done, like 86 heroes or something along those lines. Craziness. Yeah. It is good. So, thank you all for watching. Remember the Discord. Links down in the description. Join us. Join the chat. Communicate with the community. Catch up with me. Ask questions. Get advice. All those kinds of things. Or just hang out with us and BS. It's all chatting. You can do it on your mobile phone. You can do it on your computer. You can talk if we ever get into talking situations, but mostly it's just typing. But it's a great way to reach out, get answers for questions, especially if you're not in like a top guild or something like that. I'm more than happy to help people out. So join that Discord. The link's in the description. The Dungeon Boss Discord, links in the description. There's a survey in the description right now that has the gaming survey. What types of games do you like? That I'm going to do some additional games, not replacing Dungeon Boss, but adding to Dungeon Boss, and see how that goes. So I'm trying to see what kind of games you like. And yeah, hit a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell, all those YouTube things that everybody always begs you to do. I need it as much as they do, so I'm begging too. Thank you for the support. You guys are great. You have a great day.